Well, hello there. It's your friendly neighborhood atheist who just happens to know a shit ton about the goddess Asherah. Let's talk about the Garden of Eden story. So Christians take the Garden of Eden story literally, but in doing so, they're overlooking the past and the tumultuous history of the Canaanites and of the Israelites. Here's why we shouldn't take the Garden of Eden story literally as an actual event. The first issue is there are two creation stories, one in Genesis 1 and another in Genesis 2. Between chapters 1 and 2, the order of creation varies greatly. Genesis 1 is something like plants, animals, and then humankind, man and woman at the same time, where Genesis 2 is Adam, plants, animals, then Eve. So what does that tell us? My hat keeps blowing off, so I got to keep my damn hand up here. What that tells us, it's evidence that there are different groups who are combining their stories. Likely this is around the time of the exile, and they're trying to compile their history. And I guess not wanting to leave another group out, they just tried to weave them together the best of their ability. Also in Genesis 1, humans are made in the divine image of the us and the we and the our, in the image of God or gods. In Genesis 2, in the Garden of Eden, man and women are made from dust, not in the image of God, and they go back to dust when they die. Oh, also, I forgot to tell you, the two groups that are combining their stories are the Elohists, so those who worship El, and the Yahwists, those who worship Yahweh. I don't doubt that there's more than just two group stories being combined into one, but that's what we have evidence for, and that's enough. Okay, so for now, let's move on to the hidden message in the Garden of Eden story. And if I find any other reasons of why it should not be taken literal, I'm going to throw them in. A very quick rundown of the history of the goddess, where we get her from. So we first find her in the archaeological record about 2000 BCE in Mesopotamia as Asherah. And then she kind of gets transmitted over into Syria as Atharat, and then eventually in Canaan as Asherah. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm really hot. Let me get my ass in the house and I'm gonna finish this. Okay, I'm back inside. I'm cooling down. Let's do a brief rundown of Yahweh's history since I just did Asherah's. Some people believe that Yahweh first shows up in our archaeological record around 1200 to 1400 BCE with the Soleb inscription. On it, it says the Shasu nomad, and this is from Egypt. It says the Shasu nomads of Yahu. I believe, as many scholars do, that this is an actual location, not a people group. That could be debated. That's fine. It's possibility that the name Yahu is a more archaic form of what we have today, Yahweh, but I am under the impression that the first time Yahweh shows up in our records is 850 BCE on the Mesha stele. King Mesha ruled over the Moabites, and the Moabites were vassal to the Israelites. But Mesha defeats the Israelites, and once he does, he puts on this stele that his god Chemosh defeated Yahweh. And that, I believe is our first time that we have his name written in stone. Back to the garden, and what are some symbols that we see that are synonymous with Asherah? First thing is the garden itself. The sanctuary goes hand in hand with Asherah. That is where you would worship her, amongst the trees in the grove. Her name translates to something like holy place. Next, of course, would be the trees themselves. So the first tree, tree of knowledge. Asherah is a mother goddess known for the wisdom that she imparts to her worshipers. Second, the tree of life. Again, another synonymous thing with the archetype of the female goddess. She gives life. She nurtures, she provides, she blesses. Trees are conduits of the divine. Asherah is a conduit of the divine and also seen as a mediator. She mediates between people and humans. Trees mediate between worlds. Their branches, their leaves reach up into the heavens. Their tree trunks are here in the mundane, while their roots reach down into the chthonic world, the underworld. Trees were used as tools to communicate, so think of how important it would be to have an Asherah pole, this conduit to the divine, placed inside of the sanctuary, inside of the temple. Another symbol of the goddess is the snake. Snakes were also conduits of communication. They represent regeneration, life, the ability to heal, and also they were used in fertility workings that went hand in hand with the mother goddess. They also have a chthonic side to them because they can travel into the underworld. A quick recap of the patterns we see for an archetypal mother goddess. We have trees, snakes, wisdom, life, the sanctuary itself, all being dehumanized by the Yahwehs. Here's something else that blew my mind when I learned it. Eve's name translates to Hava in Hebrew, and Hava means life. And what do we say snakes and trees represent? Goddess represents life. And if you have a little wordplay with Eve's name, Haya is a snake. One thing that is missed when you take this story literally is the cool ass wordplay that the Israelites are always throwing into their stories. And it's just so whitewashed, you don't understand what's really happening behind the scenes. Eve is titled as the mother of all living. And guess what Asherah's title is? You guessed it, she is the creatrix of the living. She is the mother of life. Oh yeah, she's also called Snake Lady. Here's something else that I forgot to tell you. Asherah, her name in Egypt is Kudshu. Kudshu means Holy One. And you know what her iconography is, her hieroglyph? It's a snake. Oh my God, it's like so freaking obvious. I don't know how people don't see it. So what is Eve truly guilty of in the Garden of Eden? Listening to her polytheistic roots and her divine conduits of knowledge and life. Then there is the ultimate abuse of power where Yahweh gives Eve birth pains, when normally the goddess would not only not have birth pains because she has remedies, she has rituals, she has traditions that she would follow to help the mother. Now Eve even needs help to get pregnant from Yahweh, a male god, when normally this is something you would go to the mother goddess, the fertility goddess, to become pregnant and to nurse. All of her symbols are demonized and weaponized against her. Then we have the Cain and Abel story where it really begins to unfold. We have the city slicking farm folk, Cain, who worships Asherah and gives his first fruits of his crop to the mother goddess. And we have Abel, who is a shepherd who worships Yahweh and gives blood, because Yahweh likes blood sacrifice. Why do you think Cain was turned into a murderer? Listen carefully to Genesis 4. Now Abel kept flocks and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry and his face was downcast. People like to interject into this story that Yahweh is disappointed with Cain because he doesn't give the best of what he has. That's not in the story. It's not in the story. I just read it. That is an assumption. The reason God does not like Cain is because he worships other gods. And they need to make this division when they're compiling their history. They got to separate us from them. We are not them. They are bad people. We are good people. We worship Yahweh. Oh, and also something silly that people overlook. Cain is a farmer. Why would he give an offering of blood? He's going to give his first fruits of the harvest. Duh. So are you saying that God was expecting something from him that he could not give? Whatever. So if you ask me, it's pretty boring to take the story as it's written because there's so many things happening behind the scenes that the story is trying to convey that you are now overlooking. I am down to almost a minute, so I think I'm going to wrap it up there. Remember, y'all, I am just an amateur enthusiast who loves everything that Asherah represents and giving people a little enlightenment about her. But you don't have to trust my word. I'm going to give you 2 book recommendations. The first one is When God Was a Woman, and the second one, Did God Have a Wife? And you're going to find so much information that you can look for yourself. Don't have to trust me. But if you enjoy having secrets of the Bible revealed to you, give me a like and follow. Bye.